Mr. Cohen, please proceed.
Can anyone see me if I'm sitting down?
We're all standing right now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a privilege and an honor it is to be here and to have you here in such a large number of people. It's really a privilege. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Joel, and all of the office holders that are here. My name is Jim Cohen. I'm not yet a household word. I come from South Minneapolis, and I represent a very different kind of politics and a different kind of representation that you will see in this race from any of the other candidates. I'm a pragmatic progressive, and I'll tell you what that means in a moment. But first, let me tell you what my background is as well. I have been a committed citizen activist, a consumer advocate, a person who has worked for working families and working women and men throughout this country for almost 40 years. I founded the Sierra Club Legal Defense Fund in Washington, D.C., its office. I was president of the Environmental Task Force, which I built to over 60,000 members and activists throughout the country working with small communities and individuals to solve local problems at the local level. And I was a consumer advocate at the Federal Trade Commission, where I served as a deputy assistant director, litigating, negotiating, resolving disputes among the federal government, suing major corporations for unfair trade practices, false and misleading advertising. In fact, you can imagine if the Bush administration had been talking about the Iraq War and why we went into that, they would have been sued as well. In any event, I came here about 13 and a half years ago, following a run for U.S. Congress in Connecticut, where I grew up. I was nominated there. I was endorsed by the AFL-CIO, the Democratic Party. I was also primaried, won the primary, and lost to a Republican who was distinguished enough to go on to become governor, and last year got out of federal prison for bribery, fraud, and corruption. Perhaps his most distinguished service in the country. Simply to say that over the past 40 years, I have dedicated myself to public interest commitment and public service. I have a tried record of having worked for average working men and women on various issues and coming here to work for American Indians on constitutional and civil rights issues. And I take constitutional integrity seriously, and I'll talk with you about that during this debate. But my father taught me one thing, and this is important to my candidacy. As passionate an advocate as I am for the principles of the Democratic Party and the values for which we stand, and for which I've fought for over 40 years, I've learned that the kind of politics in Washington, the slash and burn, partisanship, polarity that goes on, the way in which we label and polarize people has resulted in very little getting done in Washington. Usually by the Republicans, I call them the Republicans, and also by many Democrats. It is, in my view, indecent. It rises to the level of obscene that after 47 years of us wanting universal health care, that we don't have it today. 47 million people now are without health care, including 9 to 12 million children. So what I learned from my dad, who was a local legislator, went on to become majority leader of the House of Representatives after being a tobacco and potato farmer, went on to become then the United States Attorney, was to listen to people. Listen to your adversaries. Bring in the best points of view, like we haven't done in Iraq. Make sure that we can find a way to build coalitions, cross the ideological divide, and get things done. And that's what my life has been about. leadership positions on finding solutions by building coalitions, finding common purpose, common goals, common sense kind of solutions to make sure that these big issues that we have are not met with the kind of partisan bickering and smallness that has characterized our politics over the years. A pragmatic progressive is not a timid person. In Dr. King's words, end the silence. Speak truth to power and to wealth. Stand up for what's right. And a pragmatic progressive is one who works out solutions that make sense for American people and for Minnesotans. If there's one thing I've heard in going throughout this state, is that Minnesotans are sick and tired of the rhetoric, what I'm going to do, what I want to do when I get into Congress. They want someone who hits the road running and is able to get solutions to the kinds of serious issues that have fashioned over the years in this country. And we don't have much time left. A pragmatic progressive says, get out of Iraq, begin to get our troops, our combat troops out now, and get all of them out by early 2008, and I've been calling for that for over 8 months. A pragmatic progressive says, health care has to be provided to all of us, but in a way that reduces the 31 to 37% excessive administrative costs. And we can do that by a single-payer, universal, publicly funded health care system. This is what we need to do also with renewable energy, to build jobs here, to be able to build under wind energy and renewables and to get off the CO2 reliance. And we can do that by cutting off CO2 and reducing it by up to 80% over the next 30 years. We'll talk more about that. In the end, Barbara Jordan said, you know, what do Americans really want? They want an America that lives up to its promise. I have demonstrated my personal commitment over 40 years to solving problems for working men and women. I view this opportunity, if I get your support, to go to the United States Senate to continue that service. I will be proud to do that with your support to make sure that we have a better America and fulfill the very hopeful and optimistic vision that I have. Not red states, not blue states, red, white, and blue for America and Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nelson-Pallmeyer, please.